This building wasn't about the craft of the making. It never was. Right from the start, it was all about introducing concepts of color and joy and form and exuberance and breaking away from the rigid mechanical sort of facades that had happened out of modernism, where everything had started to get so sterile. This was a reaction against that. I remember the first time I visited the Portland building, I had known about it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever when it happened in 1982, and I was in graduate school at that time. And I was so excited to see it, and so excited to see Portlandia.
My relationship to the Portland building is having seen it for the first time published in a magazine. It was shocking. My name is Patrick Burke. I'm an architect and a principal at Michael Graves Architecture and Design, and I have worked there for 38 years. It was actually a controversial moment in architecture where postmodernism was no longer an aesthetic for kitchen additions to houses, but was suddenly an aesthetic for a big urban building. It's neither traditional nor what people would have at that time called modern. It's something else. Suddenly, it was a debate. It was a real full-on debate. The word didn't really exist back then, but from our point of view today, looking back, it really was a mashup. It kind of put postmodernism on the map. I started in the firm in February 1982, and the Portland building was in its last months of construction. I sat just down the row from Lisa Lee Morgan, who was the project manager, so I heard all of her phone calls about the project, difficulties about getting things still in the budget. I worked on one thing at the end of the Portland building. I wound up doing the colors and interiors of the lobby areas of the Portland building. There was a three-firm competition in late 1979. The three schemes were submitted. Philip Johnson was on the jury. Philip Johnson was an architect who, around those days, kind of stirred the profession. You know, he's sort of like the godfather in a way. He made things happen. And he was interested in this new thing starting to happen. These were architects playing with historical references and color and talking about human occupation of these buildings and speaking out against kind of these inhuman modern buildings that were being built in the 50s and 60s and into the 70s. They were becoming a little bit of a movement by that time. It took some time before this became news in the profession. Everybody was talking about it. There was a debate in every office. You were either very much on one side or very much on the other side. I didn't know very many people who were in the middle on it. It was the first big postmodern building ever really being built. There was a lot of focus on it. Michael had never done an office tower. Michael had never done an urban building. He was really a reach. He was an unusual choice. The budget was really, really low. In fact, way too low.
Living in the Portland community for the past 20 years, I'd heard a lot about the Portland building just in terms of it's the building that leaked. It was the building that in a lot of ways people love to hate. I think that this project in general, there was a lot of perception in the community that it was kind of a no-win situation, that there was no way to solve this problem in any way where you would come off as the hero. And personally, I kind of found that to be an irresistible challenge. It seemed like kind of a once-in-a-career opportunity to have an impact on an internationally known building and to tackle a really interesting problem.
Starting with the goals for the project, the building will not leak might have been the first one.
On top of that, once we solved the water issues, the project was at large enough scale that it triggered the city's goals of seismic improvement. And so then we did a study to see what it would take to improve the seismic standards of the building. And then once we did those two things, we were spending enough and the HVAC and the MEP systems were basically at the end of their useful life. It started as a major maintenance problem, but it expanded to we were touching so much of the building that once you touch that much of the building, then the interiors need to get redone anyway, and so that's really how we got to being an exterior remodel project all the way to full reconstruction.
For all of us, the conflict of the historic preservation aspects of this job, which kind of goes to you fix and preserve what was designed, with the number one mandate on this project is that when we are done, it's not going to leak. We worked very quickly on this issue right up front because we knew that this was the most significant issue for the success of the project. Many other issues mattered, absolutely, the seismic issue mattered, but in terms of getting to a solution, a number of people had to be involved. How are we going to do this? What is the right way to do it?